Dear donors, that's all y'all, on camera too, thank you so much for donating money. I am excited to read the Book of Record Breakers. I love reading, and one day I let my dad beat me at checkers so the game could be over and I could read. Love, Talia. So that is what it's all about. And Talia, if you're watching, I don't know if you wherever you are, but I know that you're better at checkers than your dad, so thank you for that. Our next speaker, by the way, knows a lot about how a book can make a difference for a child just like Talia, as we mentioned, and how a culture of reading can help a school community. Alexandria Haas began her career as an elementary teacher in the LA Unified School District, where she also worked as a literacy and Title I coordinator. Alex has been an educational consultant, worked as literacy specialist for a school reform organization, and also served as literacy assistant principal at Asa Mercer International Middle School, I should say, here in Seattle. Alex is now in her 8th year of principalship at McMicken Heights in Highline Public Schools, and this year, this is awesome, she's been named as 2022's Washington State National Distinguished Principal. So please join me in welcoming Alexandria Haas to the stage.
Well, I have many fond childhood memories of reading. A vivid image immediately pops into my head of lazy summer days spent reading under the rustling leaves of the maple trees of eastern Canada. I would grab classics like Winnie the Pooh and Charlotte's Web and hide out for hours on end. I was also an avid series reader, which is what I think contributed to my lifelong love of reading. I've enjoyed many genres over the years, but mysteries were my true passion. Give me Nancy Drew or Agatha Christie any day, and it would transport me to a different time with characters I admired and aspired to be. When I became an educator, I would often try to recall a time when I didn't know how to read. And literally, I cannot to this day remember that hazy pre-reading time. However, I do understand that reading does not come easily to everyone for different reasons. And it is this challenge that I seek to overcome by promoting a genuine love of learning within our educational community. My daughter is now 17, graduating from high school, headed to college. But when she was little, she was the beneficiary of family and friends who constantly gave her books, so much so that she mistook the bookstore for the library. She loved classic characters like Frog and Toad, but also books about new friends, such as Ivy and Bean. She loved learning about the Titanic, how to make friendship bracelets, how to take care of pets. As a preschooler, she would sit in her room, literally showered in picture books. It is this love of reading that I seek to promote with our students at McMicken. How do we consistently shower them with books so they can find adventures, characters, and topics they love in order to spark a lifelong love of reading? At McMicken, I am so fortunate to have an amazing librarian, Vivian Alcantara, who is passionate about curating a rich collection of diverse texts and matching texts to readers. My teachers have beautiful and inviting classroom libraries, sending the message that our students are surrounded by amazing stories and texts. As you can see in one of the photos, our kinder teachers celebrate one of their first reading units with a parade around the school, with kinders proudly showing off their favorite titles. A library is at the heart of the community and has been a refuge for many families throughout the pandemic. And similarly, the library is the living beating heart of any school building. What has been so amazing, however, about Page Ahead is the sheer volume of books students are able to take home in order to build their own home libraries so they can visit and revisit favorite books as much as they want. It is so fun to see the excitement our students exhibit as they stock their book baggies for the summer. Our amazing librarian, Ms. Alcantara, fuses, the Page Ahead Book Up Summer program is very special, bright, shining happy week in our school library. It's actually happening this week as we speak. When students are told they may choose 12 free books to keep forever, there are always gasps, squeals of glee, and even spontaneous dancing. which is an exciting time in the library. The pandemic has brought home how crucial it is to create a learning space at home. This includes not only spaces where potential virtual learning can happen, but also re-emphasizes the importance of having access to texts in the home and how critical family connection around books is to promoting a love of reading in the home. This helps give students the power to self-identify as readers. When they think of themselves as readers, they are empowered. They can advocate for the types of titles they want in their classroom libraries. They can ask Ms. Alcantara in the school library for the next book in the series that they love. This foundation is laid in the early years and tells students they deserve access to these books that they love. Taking ownership of their books helps our readers take ownership over their learning journeys in general. When they find books they love, those books become an engine to power their academic success for life. As a leader, I also want to model my bibliophilia through read-alouds and class discussions about meaty topics inspired by books that we read together. In my second year as principal, I began our Principal's Book of the Month program, wherein we order a title for every classroom in the building, for the front office, and more. The power of this practice is in the ability to increase representation of our beautifully diverse community and tie books to important themes around social emotional learning, perseverance, and tolerance, just to name a few. I choose a picture book that all grade levels can enjoy, such as A Mango in the Tree, Change Sings, or Ohana Means Family. I love to tie the choice of text to Heritage Month areas of focus and find a variety of stories that capture students' interest and/or promote some rich discussion. I love to teach students how to think more deeply about turns of phrase, symbolism, or figurative language. Ideally, our Book of the Month can become a shared narrative that enriches and connects us further as a community. It helps develop a common language that we can use as we reflect on important events both in our community and in the world. It is amazing how a shared text can help set the stage for deeper conversations, such as when we have discussions about problems that have happened in the school, or it can be an inspiration for our young authors as they begin to craft their own stories. One thing that Page Ahead does to help us and other schools that important community building work is providing a great selection of books that help our students see themselves and their friends in the pages. At our Page Ahead book fairs, there are lots of titles in both Spanish and English to browse, and Page Ahead makes sure that at least a quarter of the books at all their book fairs celebrate and center the stories of kids and families of color. A multitude of researchers and common sense dictate the importance of volume reading in developing proficient readers. Many teaching practices seek to emulate the joy of reading, such as using big books to share the text with students to recreate the experience of lap reading, to providing students with stacks of books and time within the school day to build that reading stamina. Reading research has also shown, however, that students who are struggling to read often get less time to actually read, and this is a big issue. One that at McMicken we have attempted to resolve by providing a double-dose reading block, extended day reading programs, and reading incentives such as our 30-book reading challenge. Page Ahead helps us in this way too, because having lots of high interest, self-selected, brand new books at home makes it easier for young readers to spend time with more reading in their lives. Removing a barrier of having limited book access helps build a culture of reading at home and supports our overall culture of reading that we work so hard to cultivate at school. The millennium has brought with it a redefined image of reading to also entail digital text, and through the use of digital text, we can further expand students' access to text exponentially. In addition, text-to-speech technology has enabled students who might be having difficulty with decoding, for example, read higher-level text so they can engage with interesting, deeper plots, characters, and themes. I do not discount these democratic efforts to expand access to high-volume reading outside of the usual confines of a traditional library or bookstore. However, as I come back to my original point, it is my opinion that nothing will ever truly replace the magic of a book in hand under the rustling leaves of a breezy summer day. As Maya Angelou says, When I look back, I am so impressed again with the life-giving power of literature. If I were a young person today trying to gain a sense of myself in the world, I would do that again by reading, just as I did when I was young. And so to this end, I remain forever grateful to the tireless work of Page Ahead and those of you who contribute to keep this magic alive for our communities. Thank you.
Alex, thank you so much for speaking, and I can really speak for everyone here when we say thank you for the work that you do, that your staff does every day over these last few years especially. So let's give it up for the educators one more time. That's what I'm talking about.